to make change in the industry, it's going to have to start with me.
I'm very grateful to have an internship like this. I don't feel like I'm just an intern. I feel like I'm actually doing something, like this is my career.
The world is open to them. They can do anything and accomplish everything. I wish that when I was 17 that I had these opportunities.
I didn't expect to be as inspired by the girls as I am, but what I found was that they have imparted a great deal of information to me. We have a really great opportunity right now to bring girls into positions of leadership in the creative industry.
Think Uber and Lyft, but solely for your neighborhood. As Gil Reyes reports, the city has launched a first-of-its-kind shuttle in one part of town known for its gridlock.
What you are looking at behind me is one of the possible solutions for reducing traffic in LA's traffic-choked West Side, a new ride-sharing service for residents of Mar Vista and surrounding areas.
We know that sometimes people need to drive, but we want to make sure that getting in your car by yourself is a choice of last resort.
The Los Angeles Department of Transportation introduces its new public transit experience. West Side Councilman Mike Bonin and Paul Koretz try out LA Now, LA's first on-demand neighborhood shuttle. Like Uber and Lyft, you just download the app, reserve a ride, and we're off.
I'm hoping that this is going to be successful enough that we start doing micro-transit, as they call it, in neighborhood shuttles. Metro's been talking about this for a couple of years. We've been talking about it for a couple of years, and I think Paul and I are just stoked that it's happening first on the West Side.
This micro-transit system serves the communities of Del Rey, Venice, Mar Vista, and Palms only. Once reserved, meet your shuttle at the designated pickup spot. It's never farther than a few blocks away.
Muchas personas que no tenemos carro y necesitamos para ir al mandado, para ir al doctor.
Juanita Becerra says she and so many of her neighbors in Mar Vista don't own cars. She saves a lot taking the shuttle to her doctor's appointments. The senior rate is just 75 cents per trip, cheaper than Uber and Lyft. City officials hope the shuttle also promotes ridership on metro, rail, and buses.
If you're not right next to transit, it's difficult to get there to start the process. So if you're a mile or so away and you can hop on the shuttle and get to the Expo line and then take Expo to work or to whatever your destination is, it makes it much more practical.
Closing that first mile, last mile gap. A one-way trip on LA Now is $1.50 for adults, free for kids 4 and under.
Service runs from 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday through Friday. Create an account at the LA Now app. For a lot of us, buying or renting a home can be stressful, but it doesn't have to be if you know how the process works. Councilman Curran Price held a housing workshop recently to help residents navigate the home buying landscape.
Lots of people think that homeownership is out of reach. And about 85% of our customer base are either trying to become homeowners or are existing homeowners.
The event today is to acquaint District 1 residents with housing options they have, affordable housing options that exist here in the city. A number of organizations that provide housing are going to be here talking about their projects and talking about the process so that our citizens can be better prepared. Housing is a big issue all throughout our city, and especially here in CD9. So we're doing what we can to encourage neighbors and friends to come out, understand what the options are, and get prepared.
When you hear affordable housing, there's no stopping you, rain or shine. You're going to be here to get more information because the prices are ridiculous. The moment I saw the sign saying that they were going to have like an informational meeting, I had to come. I would just like to encourage everyone to come and get more information because they might get more out of this than what they expect.
I'm looking into the new progress that's being done in this neighborhood. It's finally seeing some movement after 15 years that I've been living here. I want to see what it is they have now for low-income, disabled community members. It's hard. The community needs a change. Slowly, there's been some progress. It's been seen, but wouldn't mind seeing some more progress.
It's important that we continue to focus on housing. It's a multifaceted issue. There are lots of solutions, and we want to make sure that our citizens are involved in them.
It's not for the faint of heart, but these young ladies certainly proved that they've got what it takes to join an elite firefighting force. They put their skills to the test at a recent LAFD training camp for females.
Today we have our Girls Fire Camp. It's a 2-day introductory camp where we teach girls how to become firefighters, or what it takes.
And it's raining today, so I think it's really exciting that 92 young girls from across the city showed up on a rainy day to participate in fire camp. There's about 3,200 firefighters in the fire department, and about 116 are women, so that's about 3%. We have to do more to incentivize women to see themselves in a career in fire service.
We want to have a diverse fire department so that we can better serve our communities, and one way to do that is to get more female firefighters in the department.
And we're trying to create a buddy system where these girls not only make new friends, but also create the network so that they can have a relationship with a woman firefighter. Nice.
Well, the firefighting career is amazing. You get tremendous gratitude from helping people. Our goal for our department is to reach 5% of our workforce. So we are actively recruiting men and women, but today's event is especially targeting our young females.
I see many opportunities for other young ladies like me.
If you have dreams or if you want to succeed something in life, you should always go for it.
It's actually a good opportunity, I have to say that.
It's a pathway where the past meets the future, and you'll soon be able to walk right through it. Rasha Goel takes us to the city's first historic pathway in the El Pueblo Historic Monument District.
You may have visited or driven through Main Street in downtown Los Angeles, but do you know how historic this block is? Housed in the Brunswick Building and the Plaza House, La Plaza de Cultura y Artes Museum opened in 2011, but the history of these buildings date back to the 1880s.
So where we are here is really where Los Angeles was first born. So as you know, the city was settled by pobladores from Mexico in 1781. They created the plaza area here, and as this area developed, this was really the commercial civic center of Los Angeles.
Today, the museum is known as the nation's premier center of Mexican-American culture. Through exhibits and various programs, you can learn about the ongoing story of Mexican Americans in Los Angeles and beyond.
What we focus on here is celebrating the Latino roots of Los Angeles. So we do that through history, art, and culture. Okay, we want people to know how Los Angeles got founded, who the founders were, and what those contributions were that were made to the development of the city. You know, LA is more than La La Land. We're more than that. We have permanent exhibitions here. One is a recreation of Main Street out here as it used to be back in the 1920s, with stores that people can go into. Some of those are actually original stores that used to be on the street back then. And then we have changing exhibitions that come in as well.
And preserving that history includes renovation of the La Plaza Paseo walkway. The block-long pathway is located between the La Plaza Museum and the historic La Placita Church and will extend from Main Street to Spring Street.
And here's a fun fact. How many of you knew that this was the first church in Los Angeles and the first cemetery right behind me? So when you come down here, not only will you learn about their historical significance, but walking through this pathway will give you a true glimpse into history.
And we'll be renovating that area with new landscaping. We're also going to create what we consider the signature piece of that project, which is a landscape archway, which will be right here on Main Street. And then another important component of that is we'll have some historical signage out there so that people can go through and learn about the history of Los Angeles from the early Native American settlers, the Tongvas who were here, up until the periods controlled by Spain and later Mexico and later the United States.
When completed, it will create a direct pathway stretching approximately 4 city blocks to Union Station and the new residential retail complex.
So much history here in Los Angeles. Now, if you haven't come down to La Plaza de Cultura y Artes, I highly recommend you to come down and really learn about the immigrant experience.
The Paseo Walkway is expected to be completed in 4 months. For more information, visit La Plaza's Facebook page. Velvet paintings get no respect in the mainstream art world, but in this next gallery, they're golden. Tacky or brilliant? You be the judge at this unexpected pop culture museum in LA's Chinatown. Gil Reyes has more.
It's been described as cool and kitschy, and for some people, even a little bit creepy. But it might also crack you up. The only museum in the world dedicated to black velvet art tributizes pop culture icons. And if you like unicorns and clowns, well, they have them inside here too. If you're offended by this Hillary Clinton as a vampire painting, then this museum probably is not for you. It's one of the more risque works we can show on TV from Velveteria, a museum in downtown LA. This is the only black velvet art museum in the world that we know of.
Well, nobody else was stupid enough to do this. These things have been lying around forever, man, and Goodwills and Salvation Armies, and everybody just kicks them aside or throws them out. No, I don't make fun of people. We honor them. Like you said before, it's an honor to be on velvet and be immortalized in velvet.
Owner Carl Baldwin has collected some 3,000 of these velvet paintings from all over the world.
Really, the explosion of velvet was Tahiti 30s, Hawaii in the 50s, 60s, and then along the Mexican border forever.
And not all of it is kitschy. Baldwin says serious LA artists from black communities popularized the art form in the 1960s.
South Central, you have a whole flourishing art scene, and these are totally unique with the lights in them, and people love these maybe more than anything in here.
Baldwin says creating a velvet painting is difficult. One careless stroke can ruin it.
You can't go back, white it out like canvas and correct your mistakes, so you got to be perfect. Welcome to the Blacklight Room, the greatest room in art in all of Los Angeles. Back in the 60s, they used blacklight paint, put it on the velvet, and you get your black light. You turn it on Jimi Hendrix, and Mom's going, "What's that smell?" So
60s marijuana culture, and yes, Elvis is everywhere. But is this museum tacky? Baldwin has a message for so-called art snobs.
If you've got nose in the air all the time, you're missing everything around you, So stay in your ivory tower and get out of our way. I love LA, and that's why I'm in LA, because it's the greatest city in the world, the epicenter of all creativity, and we're the epicenter of art. So come on in.
It's no secret this business has struggled to stay afloat. The hope is media coverage about this will attract more visitors. Check out Velveteria at 711 New High Street in downtown's Chinatown.
Oh, come on, there's nothing like the King of Rock on black velvet. Check it out for yourself. The museum is open Wednesday through Monday. Arbor Day brings the community together with an old-fashioned tree planting in the valley. Hundreds of volunteers grabbed shovels and helped plant nearly 200 trees, and some even went home with fruit trees of their own.
We're celebrating Arbor Day here in Council District 6, and we want to instill the importance of our tree adoption program here in the city of Los Angeles and increasing our tree canopy.
Trees are an essential part of our human life, our human existence. So humans need trees around them for health, for clean air, but then of course trees provide a huge number of other benefits. They shade our houses, they shade buildings, but they mostly beautify where we live. They create a better quality of life, and so it's essential that we plant as many trees as we can.
What I love about this event is that you have a number of families from my district where you have people here taking care of our environment.
My trees, I love fruit,
My mom loves fruit, and I came to get my free tree.
To grow trees and help the environment, also like the fruit trees because it's the organic fruit, and also promote like a clean and green environment.
Chinese culture was on full display during the closing celebration of the Chinese New Year. The Lantern Festival capped off 2 weeks of traditional music, dance, food, and art.
It's Rain or Shine. It's our annual Lantern Festival celebration. The Chinese celebrate our New Year for 2 weeks. And so we wrap up all the celebrations by celebrating with what's called a Lantern Festival. We offer ways to teach our culture in very fun and active ways. Lots and lots of cultural events.
But it's actually important to me because I've recently been getting back into touch with my Chinese heritage. It's a perfect time for us to be here at like this museum and the event for that reason, I think.
Kids, here's your chance to submit names for Metro's tunnel boring machines. Upgrades are coming to DeLong Prairie Park in Hollywood, and the Department of Cultural Affairs launches a new food mapping project. All this in City Beat. Calling all kids. Metro is ready to start construction on their new Purple Line extension between Beverly Hills and Century City, but they need your help. The underground tunnel boring machines can't begin work until they get names and custom-themed artwork. Community appreciation and fun prizes await the selectees, so pitch your best ideas into the hat now at metro.net. Councilmember David Rue is spearheading improvements to DeLong Prairie Park in Hollywood. The popular park will receive a much-needed facelift, including a shade structure, play areas, security lights and cameras, and an overall family-friendlier design. The project is personally important to Rue, who says, "City parks were my backyard." And technology has never been so yummy. The Department of Cultural Affairs invites you to participate in a citywide food appreciation project. Nominate your favorite restaurants and help map out exactly where Los Angeles is chowing down. Join the interactive experience and contribute to the city's food history at #LookingAtMyLosAngeles on all social media platforms. Folks in Mar Vista got into the neighborly spirit as they hit one of their great streets for an evening of live art, music, and of course, food trucks.
We are in lovely Mar Vista. Here at the Mar Vista Art Walk, it's a wonderful community event that happens 4 times a year. We have live music, live painting, all kinds of art vending. Businesses are wide open. They love the foot traffic. We have between 3,000 and 5,000 people walking the streets of Mar Vista. It's a wonderful event. The Mar Vista Art Walk was founded in 2015 using the footprint and the guidance of Mayor Garcetti's one of his very first campaign initiatives, which was and remains the Great Streets Initiative. The idea behind the Great Streets is that in each of the 15 council districts, there is a street or a boulevard that is actually kind of a town center. And we have been very successful in activating our Great Street. The Council District 11 Great Street is Venice Boulevard between Inglewood and Beethoven. And 4 times a year, we have this great event that transpires each quarter, spring, summer, fall, winter. The entire community has come out in increasing numbers to enjoy everything that we have.
Celebrate the 65th anniversary of The Creature from the Black Lagoon. Take a bite out of a vegan street fair. And are you a fan of the Hellboy comics? Well, here's your chance to meet the creator. All this and things to do. Join the West Valley Regional Library for Creature Fest, a celebration of the 65th anniversary of Creature from the Black Lagoon. The branch will be showing all 3 Creature movies, along with commentary and discussion led by the guys from Monster Party podcast. Creature Fest begins at 11 a.m. on Saturday, March 23rd. The screening will happen at the West Valley Regional Library at 19036 Van Owen Street. For details, visit lapl.org/events. Calling all vegans, the Vegan Street Fair is returning to NoHo. This all-ages vegan food celebration will feature vegan-friendly restaurants and vendors serving up bite-sized portions of delicious vegan eats. You'll also find tons of vegan wear that let you express your style. It's all happening at the Vegan Street Fair March 23rd and 24th, beginning at 11 a.m. The fair is located at 11223 Chandler Boulevard. For more info, visit veganstreetfair.com. Head over to Earth 2 Comics, where Hellboy creator Mike Mignola is meeting fans and signing comics. Spend Hellboy Day celebrating its 25th anniversary and heralding the upcoming movie with the iconic character's creator. Mike Mignola stops by Earth 2 Comics on Saturday, March 23rd, beginning at 2 p.m. Earth 2 Comics is located at 15017 Ventura Boulevard. For details, visit earth2comics.com. And that's a look at some things to do. That's it for this edition. I'm Yana Kay. From all of us here at LA This Week, thanks for joining us. A reminder that you can catch us online at lacityview.org. We're also on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. See you next time for more of LA This Week.
Hey, buddy! You with the stupid hat. Come here. Closer. No parking! Do you know what happens when you park illegally on these narrow hillside streets? You block the street so emergency vehicles can't pass. Each year, homes are destroyed and lives are lost because of drivers like you who park illegally! And you know what else? You can get a citation. And you can be towed.
Help us get to the emergency. The life we save just might be yours. How'd you know?
The ball called.
Hey, look out for the pothole.
Hi, I'm Cindy, and I'm in Little Tokyo, and you're watching Channel 35, Your City, Your Channel.
Seriously? Where's the dog? He's a biter. Oh, Lord.
Hey, but you know dogs are great judge of character.
She's not a dog person. I may let her care.
You heard it. Did you see it? Yeah, I heard it. She screamed.
Really? No? But he did snap. Good morning. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Shh. If everybody would please take a seat. Today is Friday, March 22nd. I want to welcome you to City Hall, to this City Council. This council meets every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday. The public is welcome. Mr. Clerk, we do have a quorum. Would you call a roll?
Blumenfield, Bona, Buscaino, Cedillo, Harris, Dawson, Weezer, Koretz, Krikorian, Martinez, O'Farrell, Price, Rodriguez, Rue, Smith, Wesson, 14 members present, and a quorum, Mr. President.
Thank you very much. First order of business.
Approval of the minutes.
Cedillo moves, Koretz seconds. Next.
Commendatory resolutions for approval.
Price moves, and Krikorian seconds. That brings us where?
Mr. President, there is a request to continue item 14 to April 30th.
So ordered.
Very good, sir. Items 1 and 2 are items noticed for public hearing.
Do you have cards on these items?
Yes, sir. Cards on both matters.
Then let's continue.
Items 3 through 14 are items for which public hearings have been held. Committee reports for items 3, 4, 12, and 13 have been posted and circulated for council's consideration. Further excuse me. That's all, sir.
Let us prepare to vote on those issues. Oh, Mr. Buscaino.
Thank you. On item 10, if we can continue it for a week. We just had
Okay, without objection, we will continue item 10 until March 29th.
Thank you.
Okay, let's prepare to vote on the, in fact, if I could just get you to hold 1 second. Let's hold number 12 as well, and let's prepare to vote. Open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
14 ayes.
Continue.
Mr. President, that takes council back to presentations, items called special, or general public comment for items not on council's agenda.
Okay, why don't we, Mr. Harris Dawson?
Thank you so much, Mr. President. I request that item 1C from the Wednesday, March 20th council meeting, CF 18-0160-S287, relative to a proposed lien for a property located at 2817 Dalton Avenue, be reconsidered for the purposes of continuing it until April 30th.
Okay, so let's do this. The first vote will be on reconsideration. Please, Madam Clerk, open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
14 ayes.
Okay, and now we will hold this item until, what was that date again?
30.
Until April 30th. We will continue that item until April 30th.
Very good, sir.
All right. Ms. Martinez, if I could ask for your assistance for 1 moment.
Good morning, Mr. Wesson. You have a special guest with us this morning?
Yes, I do, and I want to first of all say that I'm very excited about the big presentation that we're going to be doing in a few moments, but I want to take advantage of the fact that we have so many great people with us today and introduce you to a furry friend named Mikey. Here, let's put him up so Mikey, oh, there he is. Mikey is 2 years old, a mixed terrier. It has his shots, and he's ready to be adopted. He's looking for a new mom and a new dad, or a mom or a dad, or a brother or a sister. We in this council chamber for many, many years, in fact, for over a decade, we've been bringing dogs and cats to the council, trying our very best to find them homes. I'm so proud to admit that we do have a 100% adoption rate, a record that we're very proud of. And so what we have is Mikey, who was he brought to this shelter, or?
He was found on the street.
Mikey was found on the street. Again, like I said, he's about 2 years old, and he's looking for a home. So if you ever want to get unconditional love, you can definitely get that from one of our four-legged friends. We have about 70, maybe 80% of the pets that we've gotten adopted have been adopted by people that are here in the chambers and people that are in the Civic Center area that are watching us on television. So what we want to do by the end of our next big presentation, I'm urging everyone and anyone that would like to take home a friend that will provide you with unconditional love. I want you to know that Mikey is going to be here for a while. Based on his coat, he doesn't appear to be the type of dog that sheds, so he's a perfect dog. For those of you that may get here too late and you want to get an animal, don't hesitate to call 888-452-7381. But we're going to have Mikey with us for a bit. Please come down, look at him, pet him, make a connection, because we must keep our 100% adoption rate alive. And speaking of being alive, it's more than, we do the best we can to try to find homes for all of the animals that we have in our shelters. But what you're doing, you're not just getting a pet or companion animal. What you're doing, you're saving a life. So I am asking anyone that can hear me, anyone that can see me, everybody that's in this room, let's save Mikey's life. Take him home, give him love, feed him, and I promise that you will not have a more loyal friend. So with that said, Madam President, I'm going to, and your name again? Cynthia. Cynthia is here with Mikey. She's going to show him around, and she'll be in the back. So if you want to come back and spend a minute with him, he will be in the back. And hopefully in the next few minutes, I'll be able to announce to all of you that we have found him a home. So anybody that has any interest, don't hesitate to come back and take this young fella home. Madam President, members, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
And let us please do everything that we can to save a life. Let's send Mikey home happy today. Thank you so very much.
Thank you. Okay, let's go ahead and, Mr. Cedillo, did you have, want to adopt Mikey? No. No.
Not at the moment, but I
Okay,
did want to
great.
make a quick
I
announcement.
thought you wanted to speak on this presentation.
Maybe next time, but a quick announcement.
Absolutely. Go ahead. The floor is yours.
Yes, I'd like to announce we have a group of us seniors who have joined us today from Metro Lofts, and these seniors have worked very diligently with us as we work on our growth of Chinatown, and I want to applaud them. If they can stand up. They're here. They were here to support an item that went out
Give them
earlier.
a round of applause.
And Mr. President, we're happy to announce that we've ensured that for them, the rest of their lives, they will not receive a rent increase at their affordable units in Chinatown.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. Maybe one of them will adopt Mikey. Mr. Koretz? Mr. Koretz for a very, very important presentation. Mr. Koretz, a tradition that's been going on here for years. And if I could just, before you start, if I could ask the folks in the audience to give we have a bunch of special guests with us today, but I do want to mention three and ask that you give them a big round of applause. We have our city attorney, Mike Fuhrer, our controller, Ron Galperin, and we have our mayor, Mayor Eric Garcetti, with us today.
Salam, Eid Shoma Mubarak. It is wonderful to be here to wish everyone a very happy Nowruz. I'm honored to join my colleagues here today to celebrate the blessings of the new year and to recognize the vibrant Persian community here in the city of Los Angeles. I'd like to thank everyone who worked so hard to put this beautiful celebration together in City Hall, giving the opportunity for all the non-Persians to get a glimpse of the colorful Iranian culture. A special thank you to the Nowruz Celebration Committee members, Michael Delajani, Hamid Bedad, Pouria Abbasi, Miriam Azerbaijani, Amir Tabak, Baman Mojalal, and David Rahimian. Let's give them all a big hand. Nowruz, which is Persian for New Day, marks the first day of spring and the beginning of the year in the Iranian calendar. It's a day when families come together, gather around their beautiful ceremonial half-seen table, decorated with items that symbolize spring and renewal, listen to music, and enjoy delicious Persian food. My personal favorite being sabzi polo mahi. Easier to eat it than pronounce it. I have the great pleasure of representing the 5th Council District, which is home to the largest population of Persians in Los Angeles. And I'm proud to recognize that Los Angeles, or sometimes Tarangelis, as it's sometimes known, is stronger and richer because of the many communities who celebrate this wonderful occasion. This year also marks 40 years since the Iranian Revolution. And while this anniversary is a painful reminder for many, it is important to recognize and never forget the injustice to Iranians who were forced out of their home during the revolution. It's also a reminder that while many were forced to flee their homeland, they were welcomed right here in Los Angeles, many emigrating with very few resources, restarting from scratch, and prospering to become one of the most successful immigrant communities in the United States. In 2010, we named a section of Westwood Boulevard Persian Square, giving the Persian community the recognition it deserves. This intersection is of particular significance because the very first Persian business in the city was established in 1974 on the corner of Westwood Boulevard and Wilkins Avenue. Since then, there's been an influx of Persian businesses and residents into the area. Our local Persian businesses and residents in the Westwood area have been a magnificent gift to all of us in the 5th District, all of us in the city, and have blessed and enriched us with dynamic culture and commerce as well as many priceless friendships. The Persian community, like many other robust, thriving immigrant communities, helped make us and our city great. And my hope is to continue working with the community to honor their heritage. Last year, we celebrated Nowruz with the installation of Persian-themed art on our utility boxes in the Persian Square area. In 2017, we celebrated the unveiling of the Freedom Sculpture, themed on the Cyrus cylinder from 2,500 years ago, celebrating individual freedom, multicultural existence, and religious tolerance for the Persian community and for all. Thanks to the Farhang Foundation for making this amazing sculpture happen, and the Unveiling Festival that was one of the most significant cultural events in the city of Los Angeles that year, with an estimated crowd of 75,000 people. I'm tremendously proud of the contributions of the Persian community, which have provided the city with a rich array of traditions and which have no doubt transformed Los Angeles. They've truly woven their beautiful culture into the fabric of the city, and there's so much more to come. And unfortunately, my colleague and a great friend to the Persian community, Councilmember Jose Huizar, couldn't be here today, but he sends his best for a very happy Nowruz. And now I would like to introduce our Mayor, Eric Garcetti.
Thank you very much, Mr. Koretz. Nowruz Mubarak, a very good new year to everyone, and thank you so much to you, Councilmember Koretz, for the work you do each year. You and Councilmember Huizar. Thank you to Adrien Nazarian, who is here as well, for representing a Iranian-born Armenian and somebody with great Persian roots, member of our state assembly and a dear friend to our city. It's always a pleasure to have you here. Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you to our city attorney and city controller. And thank you to the community that is here with us every single year. I want to also thank Michael Arnold, the President and CEO of the Midnight Mission, the link that is done this year with the Persian community to be able to help us with our #1 fight to end homelessness. We appreciate that generosity. And of course, our dear friend Puri Abbasi, Executive Director and CEO of Associated Students of UCLA, and our former Convention Center CEO, and all of the leaders in the Persian American community. We know that Los Angeles is one of the world's great Iranian cities. That whether it's talking about Tehrangeles, I always joke I grew up in a small Persian suburb of Los Angeles called Encino. And so this is a place where we know each other's cultures, we see, and where we celebrate not only a new beginning each year, but a chance to learn, as we do in our Heritage Months, the rich and deep culture that has contributed so much to human culture that came from Persian culture. Whether it is the proto-beginnings of democracy, often these things are assigned to other places only. That only happened in Greece when it happened, as we know, in Persia. Art, which is often described later on as Arabic art, or even some of the Roman art, actually came first from Persian art roots. To see mathematics, the study of history as a discipline, all of those things that really came from centuries and millennia of work in what is now Iran and the surrounding areas, shows the reach of culture, not just here, an ocean away, but in the entire cradle of civilization in the Middle East and beyond. We also know, too, that one of our sister cities is Tehran. It is a sibling we haven't seen in a long time, but I look forward to the days when we can better connect that relationship. I just came back from Mexico City 2 weeks ago, where we celebrated 50 years of friendship. And we know how deep those people-to-people contacts can be, even in the midst of the most challenging political times. When national governments fight, the sister city organization popped up as the result of the Cold War, when the United States and the Soviet Union weren't talking to each other. And so we got people to talk to each other. And we have two former Soviet cities, one St. Petersburg, formerly Leningrad, and Yerevan, which we share with Cambridge, Massachusetts. And the people-to-people connection is something we see on the streets of LA every single day. Whether it's friends and family around the Haftzin to celebrate and reflect on the past year and looking ahead to a brighter future, or the ways that folks give back from this community. Volunteers in food pantries, the bounty of spring being shared with everybody. And every day the Persian community reminds me of the angels that surround us. So whether you're at Dockweiler Beach jumping over a small fire at dusk for Sharshambe Shuri, or whether you're at Balboa Park for Sidza Bedar having a family picnic, Whether you're part of the Iranian community here in Los Angeles or whether you're celebrating Nowruz in South Asia or the Balkans, I hope that everybody has a meaningful and prosperous new year. So again, Nowruz Mubarak, Nowruz Tun, Piros, and after that, that's all I got. I'll turn it back to Koretz. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you, Mr. Mayor, and your Persian was very good.
From an expert, that's good.
And now we'd like to hear from our City Attorney, Mike Fewer.
Waiting to see how I score on that scale. Nowruz Mubarak, Nowruz Piruz. It is such a pleasure to be here with our many friends from the Iranian American community who've joined us. You know, as a city council member, I had the privilege of representing the lion's share of the Iranian American community here in Los Angeles. Same is true when I was in the state legislature. Now, of course, as city attorney, those friendships, that teamwork, those partnerships will last for the rest of our lives. Very meaningful to me. I was thinking about what meaning we should ascribe to Nowruz this year, and reflecting on recent events. I was thinking about the posting of Turkish flags at the Armenian American schools in the Valley. I was thinking about the anti-Semitic literature and the defacing of synagogues we have seen since. I was thinking about the rise of white supremacy around the world and thinking about where the mayor was last Friday and I was later on at the Islamic Center to try to lift up a community that was feeling very endangered and very isolated. And I think the way to reconcile these threads is this. One meaning of Nowruz is it's a time of reconciliation. Another is that it's a time of rebirth and renewal. And perhaps this year, for this Nowruz, our fondest hope can be that we authentically reconcile with each other, that we genuinely look to those who might be from different backgrounds, but nonetheless we should draw strength from that diversity, never allow any community to feel isolated, and know that in this city, everyone, regardless of their race or religion or ethnicity or sexual orientation or geography, we embrace everyone in a city that needs every one of us to stand together. So, for Mr. President, I'm going to conclude where I began. Nowruz Mubarak, Nowruz Piruz. I'm waiting for Councilmember Koretz's assessment of how I did. But it's a special time, and I think it's a special time for us to seize a moment of unity and solidarity in a world that desperately needs both. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. City Attorney. And now we'd like to hear from our City Controller, Ron Galperin.
Good morning, Eid Shoy Mubarak, Happy New Year, Nowruz Piruz, and by the way, we're all going to be taking Farsi lessons in the coming year. Good morning, Mr. President, and thank you so very much for that introduction, Councilmember Koretz, and it's great to be here with my colleagues. I love how we celebrate so many New Years here in Los Angeles, but I have to say that I particularly enjoy and appreciate the Persian New Year, Nowruz, and all that it represents. First of all, every year here in City Hall, it not only has the best spread in the rotunda and the most incredible flowers, as you can all see here, but it really represents something that unites people of every faith and every background to honor peace, to honor solidarity, to honor the relationships that we have within our families and our communities. It's about celebrating new hope, and it's about celebrating new beginnings. Now, interestingly enough, it's a very secular tradition, but it also shares symbols with the great faiths of the world. The Hafsin, which has been mentioned, is very similar to the Seder plate in Jewish tradition in so many ways. There's, of course, also the tradition of the egg, which is so much a part of Easter. And also today, interestingly enough, happens to be Shushan Purim in the Jewish calendar, which is a day that celebrates the saving of the Jewish people of Persia as recounted in the book of Esther. So this brings together so many different traditions. And it's really part of that whole beauty of Nowruz, about uniting us, something that is so needed, certainly needed in that region of the world that is modern-day Persia, but one that we need throughout our world here in Los Angeles. Now, the Persian community, as has been mentioned, has brought so many incredible gifts to LA. I can't actually imagine LA without the Persian community. It's become so much a part of who we are. And as the child of immigrants, as the first to be born in my family, it is so wonderful to see yet another community come of its own and become so established and such an important part of our fabric. So with that, and part of American fabric is now the celebration of Nowruz, part of the Los Angeles tradition of celebrating Nowruz as well. So again, Eid Shol Mubarak and Nowruz Piruz, and may it be a happy, a healthy, a good, and a peaceful year for all. Thank you.
Thank you, Ron. And now we'd like to hear from our great assembly member, Adrien Nazarian.
Adrien, welcome home.
Thank you, Council President. I just wanted to come by and say thank you to the wonderful festive occasion that you're celebrating. Thank you for recognizing it. Thank you to Councilmember Paul Koretz, to you, Council President Wesson. The mayor said it very well, very aptly and very succinctly when he enumerated the contributions of a civilization that has been in existence between 3,000 to 4,000 years and has contributed so much. Unfortunately, for the last 40 years, there's been a blimp in the history of that wonderful civilization, but we're looking forward to the day when the progress continues to be made and changes come about, and the individuals, the residents of Iran are able to continue going back to the way they used to live. While that is said, today marks a wonderful festive occasion that transcends even its own beginning of Zoroastrian religion, and it's something that has been adopted by so many different religions, whether it's the Armenian or the Jewish or the Baha'i faiths in Iran, who today, while outside of Iran, are celebrating and recognizing this wonderful occasion, and in some ways brings back to them the history and the context of the country that they left and the home that they've now helped build. So I just wanted to say thank you for taking the opportunity to recognize, and wanted to say thank you to the wonderful community that has also stepped up to want to play an important part in the civic engagement, in civic life, and also highlight their culture. So Eid Shoma Mubarak and Nowruz Piruz. Thank you very much.
And I should also recognize that our Board of Education member, Scott Schmerlson, has come to here to support us and to represent the LA Unified School District. Now I'd like to introduce Mike Arnold, the President and CEO of the Midnight Mission.
Thank you and good morning. So I have the distinct honor and privilege of working for an organization that serves men, women, and children who are experiencing homelessness here in Los Angeles. The Midnight Mission is a nonprofit that has been around for 105 years, serving the most vulnerable. We are an organization all about renewal, rebirth, reestablishing life after a lifetime of addiction or living on the streets. We're also extremely grateful because we have become a part of the Nowruz celebration here in Los Angeles through the generosity and hard work of all of the Persian American community here in Los Angeles. While you're all probably aware that there's a big Nowruz celebration over in Westwood, we also, thanks to our friends in the Persian American community, have a Nowruz celebration in Skid Row. Last Friday, around 3,000 people joined us in a street fair that served traditional Iranian food, provided the tradition of festival and dance, renewal, rebirth, and we are incredibly grateful to the community, the Persian American community, and especially I want to call out and thank our Vice Chairman of our board, Mr. Ali Razi, who's here with me today. And also thank the entire Persian American community who every year dedicates so much of their time, energy, and funds to help the people in Skid Row celebrate this festival of rebirth. So thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Mike. And now I'd like to introduce Pouria Abbasi, who will also make some remarks in Farsi. Pouria is the former GM of the LA Convention Center, a board member of the Nowruz Foundation, a board member of the Farhang Foundation, and executive director of Associate Students of ASU CLA. And I've known him for several decades, since my friend Joe Shushani first introduced us over 30 years ago. So without further ado, Pouria Abbasi.
And Mr. Koretz, Pouria is also a great friend to the city of Los Angeles. So good to see you again.
Appreciate it. Dear members of the City Council, honorable elected officials, and guests, on behalf of the Iranian American community, thank you for recognizing Nowruz now and every year since 2004. This celebration at the Los Angeles City Hall has become the most anticipated, the most consistent, and the most respected event of the Nowruz calendar outside of Iran, in the home of the largest population of Iranian diaspora. We Iranian Americans find much pride in sharing this most benevolent symbol of our heritage and tradition in these hallowed chambers. You and your colleagues before you have so well represented the ideals of Nowruz: hope and optimism, tolerance and respect, and care and compassion. And it is your teachings in the practice of care, compassion, and giving, the most fundamental of all American values, that has allowed our community to truly flourish in this great metropolis. Whether it is providing all communities with the opportunity to share in the festivities of Nowruz throughout the city, or feeding and clothing so many less fortunate few blocks from here on Skid Row on the occasion of Nowruz, or establishing the largest bone marrow registry for people of Middle Eastern descent, or providing free music lessons to the blind and the visually impaired, or caring for children with cancer, or gifting Angelenos with one of the largest monuments to freedom and tolerance, or helping the disenfranchised gain their rights, or so many other causes, too numerous to mention here, Iranian Americans have stepped up to give back and truly reflect the ideals of Nowruz. To be American is to care. And the care you have shown us has encouraged us even more to take the occasion of Nowruz to commit ourselves beyond ourselves to the betterment of all communities in both words and deeds. Today we recognize that through your actions, and steadfast resolves that you have brought us together and made us better custodians of all that makes Nowruz unique and lasting. So in closing, we wish all Angelenos health, happiness, and good fortune in the coming year. May we be blessed with ample opportunities to extend a helping hand to those less fortunate as we play forward the goodness that is Nowruz. With the Council President's permission, I would like to say a few words in Farsi. Thank you. از جانب شهر لس آنجلس نوروز باستانی را به تمامی مردمان در سرتاسر جهان تبریک گفته آرزوی سالی مملو از مهر، صفا، عشق و آشتی را برای همگان داریم. نوروزتان پیروز، هر روزتان نوروز. Thank you.
Well, Pouria, I think your Farsi is the best of anyone who spoke here today.
I'll hold classes next time, yeah.
Los Angeles is a great city that is so much greater because of the efforts and contributions of the Iranian community. So thank you for the opportunity to celebrate together. Thank you for the beautiful flowers that you gave us here today. And I wish you all the best for the year 1396. Merci and Nowruz Etun Piruz. And now I'd like to ask my colleagues to help present a certificate of appreciation to the Nowruz Celebration Committee. Yeah, let's.
Okay, Mr. Koretz, before you guys disband, I would like to recognize, I don't see Mr. Cedillo, so let me acknowledge Mr. Rue at this time.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Councilman Koretz, for bringing this great presentation, and thank you to all the leaders, all of our city leaders, and all of our friends who are here today to celebrate Nowruz. Happy Nowruz, and I just wanted to participate as well and say thank you to the Persian community to the Persian American community that is over 700,000 strong for sharing this with us. Diversity is what makes us great, and this is a historic and fun holiday. Not only does it mark the beginning of spring, but all the amazing food that's across our district, my district, and in Los Angeles. And it's also a great time for celebration with family and friends. And the contribution of the Persian American community is undeniable to the city of Los Angeles. 1 in 4 Persian Americans hold master's or doctorate degrees. They're business owners, doctors, lawyers, and they're also civic leaders like my district director, Nikki Azari, and Milen, one of my case managers, who also celebrate Nowruz, and I'm just so happy that they're part of my staff. But most importantly, Persian Americans are individuals with rich history and incredible culture. So I just wanted to say thank you and say Happy Nowruz, and thank you for bringing Nowruz to City Hall. Thank you.
Mr. Blumenfield.
Great, thank you. I wanted to say a few words and join in this celebration. My district has the second largest Persian population in the city of Los Angeles, and I always look forward to Nowruz. And among other things, I wanted to try out my Farsi, so I wanted to say, Hame Saleh Khubei Dashte Bashi. And I also wanted to recognize some of the folks, you know, I'm out in the West Valley, and it takes an hour and a half to get here, and we have a lot of folks from our area have come. I see John Artelon, who's been a steadfast friend, who's a businessman, activist, and commentator on TV. And I also see right there in the front row, Simin Tarani, major Persian TV personality in my district, and from Royal Time TV is here. And Puri, and his wife Marianne are also from the district, from Tarzana. Appreciate you and your wife being here, and she's a member of the city family at ITA, doing data analytics, making our city smarter and better, and I appreciate that. And I also wanted to mention David Rahimian. Where'd David go? There he is. Not only is his mother a constituent, he's not, unfortunately, I don't get to claim you as a constituent, but he spends a lot of time helping put this event together as well. I wanted to recognize you. So really just, this is a wonderful celebration of rebirth. It's a fabulous thing, and Nowruz Piruz. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Cedillo looks a little bit like Mayor Garcetti, so I don't see Mr. Cedillo at this point in time. So, yeah. So I'll go back to you, Mr. Koretz, to wrap this up. And again, let's give a big round of applause. Let's celebrate this new year.
thank you again, Mr. President and colleagues, for joining us in this important celebration. And so I wish everybody a very happy Nowruz. Thank you.
Okay, we're going to proceed with our council meeting. We can kindly ask to lower the volume here. Shh. Make your way toward the exit if you plan on leaving the chambers. Thank you. Okay, thank you. Thank you, sergeants, for helping. With that, let's now take item number 12. Item number 12 is now before us, and that's been held by our Council President Wesson. Mr. Wesson.
Okay, thank you, Mr. President and Mayor. Before the mayor leaves, thank you, Mr. President and members. It's really appropriate that the mayor is here at this time for this item. About 13 months ago, or 12 months ago, the mayor and his office, along with the council, came up with the idea of creatively trying to do everything that we could to get people off. Shh. Lord knows I don't want to hear people talking behind me. To get people off the street and into a safe place to live. I was one of the first members seated around this horseshoe to identify a location to begin this process. A location on Vermont Boulevard close to Wilshire that would have housed approximately 64 people that were on the street. I did not know at that time that I was going to be creating such a firestorm. It was one of the most challenging times that many of us ever went through. I've never seen so many emotional people. There were so many people opposed. There were reports on television every night and in the newspapers just about every day. There were marches through the streets. And I'll be honest with you, I did not know how this was going to end. But there were several people that I just want to quickly acknowledge. And Mr. City Attorney, we want to warn Mr. Herman, if he continues to do that, that he'll be removed. That never gave up because of the mayor's vision and the council's vision. We have been the tip of the spear, I'm telling you, in this city, this state, in fighting homelessness. And these people that never gave up and never wavered was the great mayor of this city, Eric Garcetti. If it wasn't for an organization called the United Way, led by Elise Buick and a young man that I've got to know named Chris Coe, if it wasn't for this organization formed by a guy that many of us know, Raul Clados, the Latino Coalition, if it wasn't for a group basically that was born out of this chaos, K-Town Shelter for All, and a young man named Mike and two young ladies named Jane and Christine. If it wasn't for OLA, Heart of LA, and its leader, Tony Brown, if it wasn't for Margarita and Jose, the president and vice president of the MacArthur Park Neighborhood Council, if it wasn't for a guy named Jung Ho with KYCC, Tony Kim, KAC, if it wasn't for Dr. Ha with the Korean Chamber, or Laura Jung with the Korean Federation, and if it wasn't for the leader of the opposition to this project, whose organization is the WCC, and his name is Jake Jung. If it wasn't for Kiwa, if it wasn't for KRC, if it wasn't for CARE, if it wasn't for KFAM, these people decided that we need to just keep at it. And I'm telling you, sometimes I would go home and couldn't even sleep because the meetings were just so intense. But we kept the conversation going, and the people that I mentioned realized that we did have a problem, and the invisible people that live on the street became visible, and then we all became determined to try to make something happen. So I think it was last Tuesday or Wednesday, on March 13th, over 300 people entered a gym in Koreatown at Lafayette Park, and we had a meeting about this issue, and we walked out of that meeting united. So I guess, members, what I'm trying to say is that as long as there is communication, there is an opportunity for resolution. We took a site that was going to house maybe 64 or 65 people and spun that into 3.5 locations where we're going to build a permanent supportive housing facility that was not even on the table when we began the conversation. And that we're also going to build a facility for women on the parking lot of my district office, which came from an idea of a guy named Mel, who's the head of an organization called She Does. The permanent supportive facility, I think, is 75 beds. On my office, it'll be 15. The site that we agreed to will be 70. So we're going to wind up with 160, 170 locations for people to live, and it started out being 64. And on top of that, a committee is going to be created that's going to look at building approximately 200 units low income for seniors. As long as there is conversation, there is hope. I'm so proud that we in the Koreatown and MacArthur Park area, with the help of Mr. Cedillo, that we did rise up like a tidal wave of hope and said, enough is enough, that we are our brothers and our sisters' keepers. And yes, we are responsible for every child that lives in this city. And I could not have done this. I would not have been close. I couldn't stand before you claiming victory and claiming a united community if it wasn't for my friend and our colleague, David Rue. Because every time somebody hit me twice, they hit him 1.5 times as well. But he stood strong and really helped bring all of this together. I say all of this, and I take a little extra time because, members, we can do this. We just have to get a small group of people that are committed to taking individuals off the street, off a concrete mattress and putting them in a real bed. Spread the conversation, and then we will grow like this army. And we will be able to do this throughout the city of Los Angeles. And like I always say, the whole world looks to us. So let us put on our best face, our best smile, and let's get it done. So right now, I am asking for your unanimous vote on building a bridge home project in the district where 11 months ago people would say that this was impossible. So I say to you, members, the impossible is possible. And with this vote, we make it so. I ask for an aye vote.
Thank you, Mr. Wesson. We have one speaker on the queue, Mr. Blumenfield.
Yes, I yield my time to Mr. Mayor.
Welcome, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. After nearly 6 years as your mayor, thank you for the unorthodox indulgence of speaking from your seats. I saw Greg Smith here, and I thought I was supposed to show up for council, so I got a little bit confused. But I know I'm a couple appointments behind in my office, including my weekly homelessness briefing with my own staff, but there's no more important place for me to be right now, Mr. President, and no more important message in the city to give. On a week that's been an extraordinary week, I spent 2 different days with Councilmember O'Farrell in the heart of Hollywood in the district that I used to represent on the city council to see not just the first but the second bridge home facility in Mr. O'Farrell's district open up after the YWCA, which was an existing building, opened up, to see a beautiful structure come up from the heart of Hollywood, the most famous neighborhood in the world. I've been with Mr. Bonin in Venice and Mr. O'Farrell in Hollywood and in Koreatown and Lafayette Park with Mr. Wesson. And I want you all to hear, wherever you need me, I will be, because there's no more important fight than this. And it's not a fight. I think it gets framed as a fight. I know we had a couple great cameras that were here for Nowruz. Appreciate them showing up. But look around. Besides the city cameras, nobody's here. The day that the Bridge Home facility opened up in Hollywood, wasn't even an article in the Los Angeles Times about it. And that's not a complaint. It's the proof that these things happen. They show up when there is the fight, but they don't necessarily show up when there's the resolution. But I want Angelinos who are lucky enough to tune in on Spectrum or any of the folks that carry Channel 35 to know, and anybody listening, that Angelinos want this to get done. This isn't that the city council wants it to get done. This isn't that the mayor wants it to get it done. Angelinos have voted twice with their pocketbooks, have showed up to town hall meetings. And yes, sometimes they come with fears, and we have to address those and listen to them and understand them. But once we do that, it's not an option of saying no. And you've shown, Mr. President, your leadership of showing that you can bring together that coalition. I want to thank folks on my team who have worked on this. I want to thank the Board of Rec and Parks Commissioners who had some initial concerns, but were able to also courageously take a vote. And we see around those tennis courts what the condition is today. That is not my city. That is not our city. It is not the city that we want to see. But with this coming up, we will see the city that we do want to see, one that ends homelessness. And I just want to thank this council and each one of the council members who's working so hard. By the end of this year, there are more than 15 sites that will be underway or finished for a bridge home. That's an impressive number, and I know we're not going to stop. The last thing is I went up with representatives of the other 12 biggest cities in California, the big city mayors, to meet with the legislative leaders and Governor Newsom this week. We appreciated the first $500 million into emergency grants for local governments this past year, and Governor Newsom didn't even wait to be asked, and he put it in his budget. But our message was 3 months into that, we've spent out 3/4 of that, 9 months ahead of schedule. So $500 million won't do this year. We hope at least $1.5 billion like we asked for out of a $21 billion surplus for the #1 issue in California will help us build the facility so that we can see bridges home like this one in Lafayette Park go up everywhere, get people off the streets, and finally make this a city of angels again. Thank you and congratulations on your leadership, Mr. President. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, thank you. And I'll just, as a quick aside, the leader of the opposition's wife gave us one of the greatest suggestions as to how to reconfigure this project. So when you all come together, I mean, we're going to be moving some things based on her suggestion, and she is the wife of the person that led the opposition. This would not have happened if it wasn't for Jake and his wife and all of the members concerned. So, Mr. President, give me a unanimous aye vote.
Let's do this. Let's do this. An aye vote is a vote towards solutions to homelessness. Thank you, Mr. President, for your leadership and guidance. Oftentimes they say leadership is alone, but not in this case. You have built a coalition around this bridge home, and this is a blessing for your district as well as for the people who need it most. So with that, colleagues, let us open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
14 ayes.
That is approved. Next item.
Mr. President, that brings us to items 1 and 2 called special for cards.
Fantastic. Let's first do those who pulled multiple items. Let's do Herman. Items 1 and 2, you'll be given 2 minutes. Please come forward, and then 1 minute of general public comment.
My brother Angelinos, why do we continue to put liens on people's properties? Why do we bring such emotional harm and stress mentally to people who fear that the lien process is criminalized people for having their property in front of their homes, especially African Americans who are racial profiled because of their properties on liens? And what about the rest of us? Wetbacks like me who have liens on your property. Look at me, everybody. I have a lien on my property at one time. I'm a wetback.
Mr. Herman, please speak to the
So
body.
the lien at and addressing the issue, Mr. City Attorney, for the record, at CD 12-8833 North Darby, Dickhead Avenue, Mr. Attorney, for $754.41 to include $20 parking charges that people come here and waive their right in oppositions to liens. In addition to that, on item 2, the bigamist, Mr. Curran Price, for the record, everyone knows that, again, 5130 Broadway Street is a place I used to live homeless. Now I'm here in my house. saying to you about resolution and comments as you heard the mayor's presentation and that of dickhead Herman Jason Wesson regarding the issuance of more so-called villages, or as you call them, jungle gym, Jubu, you know? So, on behalf of public interest, 42 U.S.C. 1983, fuck you. Now my general public comment.
1 minute.
Fellow Americans, 42 U.S.C. 12101, why do we harm people with mental health? Why do we have to go into the Baldwin Mall and shoot down a child with a knife? Why do we have to execute an African American with fuck the police, 7 bullets, and they kick the nigger on the ground? I'm a white nigger too, Mr. City Attorney. White nigger, Mr. Attorney. White nigger. Brandenburg versus Ohio, U.S. 395-444-1969. Fuck the police. Baltimore police say to me to say to you, little Boise, Jew. Fuck the police. Fuck all you fucking assholes who bring emotional distress to homeless people and bring such disgrace to this fucking city. Fuck you, Mr. City Attorney, and fuck Joe Busciano.
All right, Wayne, you are up on, you pulled items 1 and 2. You'll be given 2 minutes, followed by a 1 minute. Hold on, sir. I'll be calling your name. Thank you for your patience. We're doing multiple cards now. So with that,
If the fine,
and then
fine-dressed gentleman
general,
wants to go first, that's perfectly
1 minute
okay.
for general public comment.
All right, very good. You want to take the liens first, sir?
Yeah, I'll have to take the liens. Oh, man. Nuri, you cunt. Look at this
Stick
on
to the
1C.
item. That's your last warning. Stick
Look
to
at
the
this
item.
on 1C, $2,800 on this poor family in North Morella. And North Brimfield, $3,800 in one of the poorest neighborhoods in the city. What a disgrace. What a goddamn disgrace this councilwoman is. What an SOB. This is ridiculous. I want these liens expunged now. And I'll show you how we do it. Because Mr. Smith on 1B has decided to waive and receive and file his lien because Mr. Smith don't punish his people. Nuri punishes everybody, even her husband.
Okay, you're
for
off
the
topic, so sit
goddamn
down.
Problems.
You've been warned. You've just forfeited your time. Give him 1 minute on general public comment.
All right, you little fucking little cop. You know, you want to play these games with my fucking time. You let the mayor speak on an item, Mr. City Attorney, you have to open up public comment on that item because a mayor is not a council member. Since you let a member of the public speak and the mayor has no right to speak as a council member, you have to reopen the bridge item to public comment. I want my 1 fucking minute on it. You know, you guys got FBI everywhere. Current Price is about to be indicted. Nuri's going to be indicted. Wesson's under investigation. He's got a $700 attorney, and he's proud that he's a mere witness. And where's that little Mitchell Englander? He isn't in New York. He's sitting at home ratting you out. So I want my fucking bridge housing goddamn quotes.
Okay,
Fuck you.
Up. Your time is up. Next up, do we have an Ellen in the audience? Ellen? Okay, I don't see Ellen. So with that, we'll just completed multiple comment cards. Let's take item number 2 for vote. Item number 2 is now before us. Let us open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
14 ayes.
Okay, let's do come back to item number 1. We have speakers on 1B, Jose Quintanilla. I'm sorry, what do you got, Alan?
And Mr. President, pardon me, before doing so, there have been requests to continue items 1C and 1D to April 30th.
Without objection. Okay, with that, Jose? Yes. Welcome. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Councilman.
On 1B.
On 1B.
Correct.
This is general case, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I just want to say that the way you guys send the letters for the proposed liens or send the letters to the imposed penalties or whatever, it's not done in the right way. They just go and try to put it in the door with the tape. But, you know, that letter can be missed, can be taken away, can be thrown for anybody, and you can miss it. You know, I would propose that you guys do it in a better way. It could be a certified letter. It could be another type that you have to sign in order to receive, because pass can go by, and you don't have a way to know that you received such a letter. I mean, just put it in there and see, hoping that the owner get it, I believe is not the right way. There is a better ways to do that, and I will appreciate that, Mr. Smith, if you follow that thing on the San Fernando Valley, that is done that way, and that's my general comment to you guys, that you could do better. Second, on my property.
Your time is up, sir.
On my property?
Okay, why don't you do 1 minute on general public comment?
Yes. Again, my name is Jose Quintanilla. By the record 180160S281, 8833 North Darby Avenue, Northridge, California, 91325. I'm here because they said it's been a proposed lien on my property. I sent a letter of compliance 10 years ago. I comply with what they asked me. I talked to Mr. Paul Buck. I call him by phone and say, my property is being compliant. The problem was that the vegetation, the grass for them, it was too big. It's not even a feet grown up, but it was too big because I was one of the Latinos living in the neighborhood. That's right. And I comply. I call them. I say, Mr. Buck is done. Will you come and look at it? He say, yes, I will. Are you going to do? Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. 10 years later, I receive a proposal in 10 years later. I don't receive any other letter. I don't receive nothing. They told me
Thank you. Your time is up. Thank you, sir. With that, Juan Barrios. No, sir, your time expired. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Before we continue on, Mr. President.
Yes.
So during the last speaker, we were distracted by Mr. Spindler and Mr. Herman, who were constantly moving around.
Okay, he continues to. Let's see.
So I think the president just ordered you to leave, Mr. Herman.
Got to go now.
Okay. So I suggest we order Mr. Herman removed immediately. Let's order him removed.
Goodbye. See him to
Mr.
the door,
Herman,
please.
you've been ordered to leave quietly. Please do so immediately. You're disrupting the meeting. Please leave now.
We'll wait till Herman leaves the chambers.
And he's still disrupting the meeting as he's being escorted out.
Okay.
And he's still keeping us from continuing with our business. Goodbye, Mr. Herman.
Okay, let the record reflect he continued to shout on his way out. With that, back to normalcy. Let's do Juan Barrios on 1F. Juan Barrios. No? See none. Mr. Buck on 1L. Part of the Gadflies filled out cards. Triloki Divjani on 1K. Good morning. And just for your name for the record, please.
Asked for and he did not find one. I was helping him with this a little bit. I don't know if I can help.
Spanish translator?
No, he needs Hindi.
Hindi Spanish translator. A Hindi translator, rather.
I can try a little bit.
Can you do your best?
My English is not good, but I will try my best to you understand that.
You're doing great so far. Keep going.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
This
Thank
is
you.
on, again, item 1K.
Yeah. Thank you for giving me opportunity to come here. God bless you guys. And I'm here. The lien is this property is not belong to me. I bought a property as owner occupied, and the owner was leaving that property before I take over, and he did the violence and I got this bill which is not belong to me. So,
Okay, what we'll do, sir, because there are some questions been raised, Mr. Blumenfield.
I'd like to ask for this to be continued for 30 days, and if you could talk with my staff over there, we'll try to figure something out.
Okay,
So
no
it's
problem.
continued for 30 days.
Okay, with that, without objection, we'll continue 1K.
Thank
for
you,
30
and
days.
God bless you.
Thank
And
you.
30 days brings us to April 30th, sir.
Thank
Excuse
you,
me,
sir.
April 1st, sir.
Wonderful. Okay, let's now take item 1. Item 1, I believe we have some announcements on item 1 that's now before us. Mr. Clerk?
Yes, sir. For items 1A, 1E, 1F, 1G, and 1L, the department recommends that the liens be reduced $4 and subsequently confirmed. For item 1B, the department recommends that this matter be received and filed inasmuch as the lien has been rescinded. And for items 1H, 1I, and 1J, the department recommends that these matters be received and filed inasmuch as the liens have been paid in full.
Okay, without objection. Let's now open the roll on 1, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
14 ayes.
That's approved. Thank you. Let's now turn to general public comment. These are cars have been pulled on a non-agenda item. You may speak on general public comment. This is Bill Watkins. Please come forward. Bill will be followed by Ms. Offset. 1 minute. Good morning, Bill.
Good morning. Thank you. Wow. It's really hard to be here sometimes. As I said last time I was here Tuesday, I appreciate the rules of decorum being put up before we sign up to speak. I think the rule that's listed as B back there, B as in boy, is being abused up here with the foul language. And it could be, quicker action could be taken. And I'll go a step further as I've written to certain council members and people in this community. I would sign on to civil action. When there were repeated offenses, we could do civil action and restrain people from disrupting the meeting for the people of Los Angeles. I support that vehemently. I'll quickly say I came for Jose Huizar. I'll go upstairs and give him a bib. But people like Mr. Herman, he could work for me as a street cleaner, and he said he would. We could do some dynamic stuff if we make the effort. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there a Miss Offset? Come forward, no? How about GT Mac on general public comment? No? How about a Michael Baker? Michael Baker? Nope. Okay, with that, we will close general public comment. What's before us now?
Mr. President, council has motions for posting and referral.
They are posted and referred.
The desk is clear.
Any announcements, colleagues? Announcements? How about adjourning motions? Please rise for adjourning motions. Mr. Price.
Thank you, Mr. President, members. I ask to be adjourned today in honor of a young life taken too soon. I rise in the memory of Victor McElhaney, a native of Oakland and most recently a USC Thornton School of Music student. Victor was a young man who brought so much joy and spirit into people's lives. He left a profound impression across multiple communities. On Sunday, March the 10th, he was tragically shot and killed in an attempted robbery 1.5 miles from his school. He was just 21 years old, with so much to live for and countless unfinished dreams. And we're left to wonder what might have been if his dreams were still possible. All we can do now is keep the memory alive of a respected and adorned musician, activist, mentor, and friend to many. I'd like to do my part by sharing a little of his story. He was born 2 months premature on April the 13th, 1997. He lived for the first 5 weeks of his life in the neonatal intensive care unit. From day one, he proved to be determined and resilient. As his mother described him, as soon as he was able to sit up, he looked for any item to use as a drum. And as a young kid, he taught himself to create beats and sounds on his own. Victor began formal percussion training with Takuma King's Children in Flight after-school program, where he learned the African rhythms and formed the foundation of his musical pedigree. By the age of 9, he was part of a traveling musical ensemble, Drum Runners of the Urban African Experience, where he performed with the group at various Bay Area festivals and eventually representing the United States and China at the International Percussion Fair. During his youth, he performed and played on many great stages in the Bay Area with notable musicians. After graduating from high school, Victor chose to pursue his passion for music at Cal State University in the East Bay. After spending some time in the East Bay, Victor chose to apply and was eventually accepted into the USC Thornton School of Music, where he would learn from master percussionists, producers, and composers. While at USC, he became an active member of the Center for Black Culture and the Student Affairs, and was a leader with the Brothers Breaking Bread and the Black Student Union. Victor drew his inspiration from the beat, the soul, and the heart of Oakland. He lives behind countless loved ones, including his loving parents, Clarence and Lynette McElhaney. In fact, in 2012, Mrs. McElhaney was elected to the Oakland City Council, representing District 3. And while the service is tomorrow, the family and friends are represented by Dr. Theo Fawkes, who's with us this morning from the Center for Black Cultural and Student Affairs at the University of Southern California. Victor's presence has inspired many, and I know his spirit will live on and his passion will encourage others to carry on his legacy of musical aspiration and activism. May his spirit live on and may he rest in peace.
Thank you, Mr. Price. Any others? I do want to, before we adjourn, recognize Councilmember Mitchell Farrell for being such a great sport last night at the American Diabetes Association's LA Political Roast. Thank you for putting your name out there for the betterment of finding a cure for diabetes in our society. So it was good fun, and thanks again, Mitch, for your dedication and putting yourself out there. It was good fun. With that, colleagues, we are now adjourned. Please go forth and serve the people of this great city. Thank you.